Hello everybody. Hope you guys can hear me okay. Thumbs up or anything in the comments if you can. Normally there's a couple of seconds delay. Yes. Hope you guys can hear me. Quick test. There we are. Okay, good. Let's jump right in. As always, not waste any time. So today is going to be a strange show. And what I do is I had about nearly 300 questions, 350 questions to go through, and I try and build a tapestry around what's on people's minds the most. So without further ado, let's just jump in and go through my view of math, money, and freedom and how it impacts you all in our journey towards financial freedom. And again, none of this is investment advice. So the big elephant in the room so far, and it was dropped last week, and many of you are concerned. I got lots and lots of messages, and between all the FUD, the difficulty in on-ramping, it's all kind of tying in together. Somebody is very, very nervous. So Chickensalt asked me your view on Wells Fargo closing lines of credit for many customers. Why would they do such a thing? It seems self-destructive. So first of all, for those people outside the US, Wells Fargo is one of the biggest banks in the country, definitely a top 5, very strong on the West Coast, headquartered in San Francisco, and they played a lot of shenanigans in the past. So a couple of things just to point out here. In the past, for those who don't know, they created fake customer accounts, and they also charge customers for fake accounts. And that cost them billions in fines, and the Fed has prevented them from doing some kind of creative things like other banks are doing with fractional lending and stuff like that. Now, what they have said they were going to do, huge bombshell last week, is they're going to close accounts for customers, which means, these are lines of credit that people require to, make house payments, medical payments, car payments, school, food, groceries, etc. They will no longer be able to draw from these lines. And that's quite a shock. Now, I think there's a bigger story here behind the situation, and let's just go through my detailed point of view. So Wells Fargo, first and foremost, is corrupt, and it reminds me of 2007, before the big financial crisis. You saw banks taking action to protect their assets, basically killing inferior risks, shutting businesses down, etc. This is happening all over again. They know they're in hot water. This goes for Wells Fargo and perhaps many, many other banks. This is the canary in the mine when this begins to happen. They are losing deposits because customers like you guys out there are draining your cash accounts and you're saving those accounts and pumping it into crypto. And these guys aren't playing part of that at all. And a big percentage of accounts are behind because of things like the C19. People have been able to delay payments on mortgages and other stuff, and the recession is ahead. There's no doubt about that, and they're lowering credit. So they've also decided to ding customers' credit scores. So this is completely shocking to the whole world, and this could be the end of banking as we know it. Think about that. This is just the beginning of all the stuff that's actually going to happen. So the irony of all of this is Elizabeth Warren, she's a senator who is kind of fighting for the poor. She hates Bitcoin and wants it to be shut down or heavily regulated. But also she came down hard on Wells Fargo. So for me, I think the irony here is, hey, Elizabeth, the answer is Bitcoin. So once you have Bitcoin, the banks won't be able to play all their shady games and do these terrible things to customers. So that's kind of my take. But the net message here is banks are struggling. Banks are going to have huge financial problems. We could see another 2008, 2009 financial crisis happening all over again. Wells Fargo is the first. A lot of problems coming down. Now with all the continued money printing, we'll see what happens. But I've got some other stories as well related to that. So this is your view on the comments made by traders like Jim Rogers and Michael Burry, starting to say that the mother of all crashes is going to be the worst of all corrections. How would it affect the market, especially crypto, and how to trade in view of such knowledge? Thank you, Matilda, for the question. This is an interesting world. So I answer it this way. So I call it a tale of two cities. And and I'm going to contrast two companies, Wells Fargo and Tesla, keeping the story all connected. So yesterday lunchtime, I went into a very small showroom, Tesla showroom, And the sales guy told me they'd already sold 22 cars that day. Okay, so you've got companies that are very disruptive. They can't actually build cars fast enough to supply demand. I tried to order one. It cannot be delivered till end of October, early November. That's how backlogged Tesla is. So think about that. And they are selling these cars at the highest margin they've ever sold them. They are also bundling it with FSD, which is $10,000 pure margin, and selling like hotcakes. So FSD is coming, and this is going to completely disrupt so many businesses. Taxi industry, airline industry, etc. It's just crazy to even think about it. And I am a big believer that it will happen. Maybe not in 1 or 2 years, but in 3 years it definitely will. Then you have Wells Fargo. They face huge inflationary pressures, issues, money printing, CARES Act, forbearance of mortgages. Apparently there's something like 2 million households in forbearance. So you're going to have two worlds. One is going to thrive and survive. The other one's going to be destroyed. And I think the stock market crash, as usual, what happens is it brings everything down fast. And that could include much of the cryptos. But things rebound fast as well. So when a crash happens, typically it'll be a nasty week. 20, 30, 40% could be wiped off the stock market. And then the rebound will happen very fast, just like we saw in March. And I'm not going to talk about the Delta variant, but that could be another trigger for some of this too. So I started moving into heavy cash positions and started selling out of the money calls against some of my longs. And that's where we are. So that's how I play it. But then again, there are companies that are going to be hugely successful. And FSD version 9 came out, and it is mind-blowing. So that's my view on that. Yes, definitely tied to Wells Fargo, there will be problems. So here is the next kind of related question. How long until all the fiat on-ramps are gone for small retail investors? From Frank, and from Eduardo, and I got tons of questions regarding this. What do we do as banks close the faucet on fiat on-ramps? So everybody is extremely concerned, especially in places like the UK and other markets where the banks are just shutting their doors on crypto and shutting them out. First of all, I believe there will be two worlds and two types of banks. Those banks that embrace crypto and those that don't. So we've shown the Wells Fargo example. They're probably embracing crypto behind the scenes for their high net worth investors, but not for the average person because they don't want to be drained of their deposits. And then there are the banks that do embrace. You've got all the NYDIG rolling out crypto custody services to 600 banks in the US, and you've got a lot of crypto-friendly banks all over the world, and they're going to succeed, and they're going to survive and thrive. Second of all, don't worry about the fiat on-ramps. There are many, many ways for people to get their hands on Bitcoin or crypto. For example, there's P2P, peer-to-peer enabled wallets and exchanges. There's OTC exchanges and traders. There's the use of e-currencies. You got Coinbase and PayPal still operating in many countries all over the world. You've got Square Cash App, although they launched Square Cash App in the UK, but I don't think you can buy Bitcoin there yet. You can buy fiat pairs, you name it. There's lots of ways of getting access. And just look at what Nigeria did when Nigeria banned crypto. Bitcoin blew up in popularity overnight. So again, as I always say, it's a cockroach you can't kill. Every time they try to shut it down, people just need to do a little more work in finding ways around to get your hands on it. So don't worry, but it's very clear that the fiat world is in trouble. Not me, I'm just looking at the data that's out there. So in a sort of related question, how do you think Capital International's 12% stake in Microstrategy will affect Bitcoin's price? From Zach D. Thank you, Zach. So this is great news, I believe, for both Bitcoin and Microstrategy. I was a Microstrategy bull, buying Microstrategy ever since they first announced they were buying Bitcoin in September, October, did a big trade in December that I published live on YouTube. Now everybody's piling into MicroStrategy because I say it is the ultimate ETF due to their financial jiu-jitsu that they're playing. And the hedge funds are coming in hard into the space. They're buying things like MicroStrategy. They're getting access to any proxies they can get their hands on. So I think this is a big thumbs up for Bitcoin and a big thumbs up for the space. In fact, just before I went live, Bitcoin spiked. And sometimes it does that. I don't know if it's me or I'm bringing good juju to the world. So hopefully, and I hope everybody's good in the comments there. Let me see. I don't know if there's any spammers there. I'm going to do a quick check. Extremely vigilant. There's another, beware everybody, there's another fake scam out there. It's a Virgin Galactic. And people are still falling for these fake giveaways. Oh, send us 0.1 Bitcoin and we'll send you 0.2 Bitcoin back. I mean, how are people still falling for this stuff? And I've been crying from the rooftops about scammers till I'm blue in the face, and I'm still not getting through to everybody. So just remember, If anybody asks you a question, prying for information, unless it's a loved one, ignore it. You know it's a thief or a scammer. And if anything sounds too good to be true, it is. So just be careful out there. Okay, back to business. So this is a question from Michael B. If other nations follow China's lead and they ban Bitcoin in favor of CBDCs, is there still a path forward for Bitcoin? Yes, there is. In fact, I believe, and I said this as well, I've done a bunch of videos around CBDCs. CBDCs are just digital fiat. It's a tokenized version of, say, the yuan becomes a digital yuan, or the USDT. The only difference is they can still print infinite amounts of this money. The only difference is they can control it, and they can reach into your pocket and grab it. And this is enough to terrify anybody who understands anything about government controls. And I always give the simple case of, imagine you get a speeding ticket. It's a $500 bill in San Francisco. Take it out of your pocket. You can't go defend yourself in court or anything else. It is punitive, and there are way, way worse examples of that. So again, the more CBDCs get adopted around the world, Vietnam's trying to roll one out, and every country you can imagine, it's becoming an arms race to get them out as quickly as possible. And the more governments will restrict people from cashing out into anything else other than CBDCs, the more popular Bitcoin and cryptos will become. Now we have tons of things like DEXs, decentralized exchanges that support swaps. We also have Visa investing heavily. Visa announced last week that more than $1 billion of cryptocurrency was spent by consumers globally through the crypto-linked Visa cards in the first 6 months of last year. And I think the payments giant also said that they are going to partner with 50 leading crypto platforms to launch card programs. You've already seen the card programs trickle into Celsius and BlockFi and all these other places, but a lot more to support 70 million merchants worldwide across tons of cryptos. So I always say the toothpaste is out of the tube. It means there's no putting crypto back in the box. It's everywhere. It's widely adopted. You got the haves and the have-nots, and that's the way the world's going to be. So yeah, my take is very simple. The more governments try and control people with central bank digital currencies, the more popular Bitcoin will become. So thank you for that question. So let's go. Another quick one. This is one I've tackled before, but it still comes up a lot. Is proof of work used by Bitcoin more secure than proof of stake used by Ethereum? Sean J. Yes, proof of work is well tested and used in many cryptocurrency projects. And the proof of stake algorithm provides a more scalable blockchain. And with all the ESG stuff happening and environmental friendliness, it's made the proof of stake protocols a lot more popular. And because they can handle a lot more throughput without burning a lot of electricity. But remember, Bitcoin is a digital store of value. It's the most pristine asset on earth. And you want that locked down, no matter what it costs. And even that being said, more than 50% of all electricity probably used to mine Bitcoin is environmentally friendly. So I don't think there's a problem there. And also you got to think about the proof of stake algorithm is like the Cantillon effect. Those that can dump a lot and stake a lot, that are super rich people, will be the ones that benefit the most. So I still prefer proof of work. Call me old school, I don't care, but that's what I like. So let's jump a little bit further ahead. Now this question: have you heard anything about the ridiculously bullish sentiment coming from Ethereum options market, namely the 50,000 approximation by end of March? From Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. Yes, I track all of the options activity for many, many things as we go forward. So it looks like my take is institutional investors are fueling the Ethereum markets. They're getting in big. We've heard about Goldman Sachs saying it's definitely going to flip Bitcoin and everything else. We see a huge buildup in $5,000 strikes in the near term, which is very good news. And we'll look at, when we get to the Q&A, we'll look at the Ethereum. In fact, of all the cryptos I went shopping for this week, I missed the Ethereum limit by like $11 or something crazy like that. It was super weak, but it's only a matter of time before it goes parabolic. And I have a second slide on that. So the institutional investors are definitely fueling this latest move, I reckon. And everybody wants to get into crypto as an asset class. Everybody. And those that are late are getting in now using leverage positions. And related to the Ethereum positions, I know there are like huge $50,000 positions out into March. But if you look at Bitcoin, it has some similar positions as well, which I monitor even more closely. I think the $50,000 call for Bitcoin is at $4,300 right now. And there's a $200,000 call, which is $415. So that could be worth a little flutter. $400 on the line, that could be worth a valuable amount. Now remember as well, with options on these types of things, you don't have to hit the strike for the option to become more valuable. So for example, if Ethereum spikes from, imagine you got a $50,000 call option that cost pennies. And if Ethereum spikes from 2,000 to 5,000 very quickly in a couple of days, that option will triple, quadruple in value overnight. And that's where these guys make their money. So they don't necessarily hold for the whole duration. So think about that. Great question. Now, tied into that too, I got another really tricky question, was regarding, hang on, I got to check. I got some super chats. And since these go to the animals, I will answer them. Let me make sure I'm covered on them. So Ronnie Oliveira, what do you think about token from Tech Leader, launched a few days ago? Haven't dug into that, sir. Deepest apologies. But we will take a quick look, and if we identify any token or anything that we believe is hot or good, we do investigate and we do go deep. Greatcode 27, do you recommend software wallets? Which I use a Trezor, so that is a Trezor hardware wallet, and I have MetaMask as a software wallet for making transfers exclusively. That's all I use. That's all I can make content on. Pano, thank you so much for your contribution. And Brian Hurley as well. Okay, this one is interesting. This is regarding the triple halving of, what did I just do? Triple halving potential for Ethereum with the upcoming London hard fork. Can you explain that, from Christoph? Yes, I can. This one is kind of easier to explain with a couple of slides. Do I have the slides on that? Let me see. Did I get them screwed up? I know I created a slide. Yes. Slides are slightly out of order, and that's unlike me. So the triple halving, some people think, oh, what does this mean exactly? So it's the concept that describes how Ethereum will basically tweak itself. So if you imagine the Bitcoin halving means the supply from miners will halve every period in time, every 4 years. Well, they're using that same phrase for Ethereum. And what this basically means is Ethereum will have a supply shock equivalent to 3 Bitcoin halving events in the next 12 months alone. And to walk those through is real easy. The current daily sell pressure for Ethereum is about 22,300 Ethereum per day. And for my calculations, the sell pressure after EIP 1559, but before proof of stake, which is ETH 2.0, will be about 15,700 a day. So not that substantial, but about, call it a quarter. And then the sell pressure after EIP 1559 and proof of stake will further drop to 2,600 ETH per day, which is basically a 90% haircut, which is substantial. Now, when you think about that, if you go 50% times 50% times 50%, that's about 12.5%, which is nearly 90%. And I believe this could result in an Ethereum supercycle. And this is why you have people making these bets of a $50,000 ETH for next month. Because if EIP 1559 is successful, and they do burn a lot of tokens, and if ETH 2.0 does happen early next year, we could definitely be there. So that's what that is all about. Now, let me make sure I didn't miss something. I had another question here regarding Chainlink. Like you, I'm a true believer in Chainlink, although not particularly sexy. It seems incredibly undervalued. Thoughts? From Scott B. Yes, this is an interesting one. So, as you know, as you say, no oracle is even in the zip code. They have a huge moat. They are very well trusted. But the real question you have is, should you allocate more than ETH in your portfolio to Chainlink? So in my opinion, assuming the bull run continues, I think I ran some numbers at the back of my head. My target for Chainlink is about 686 by 2030, say over the next 9 years. That's a 36x. My target for Ethereum is a 33K. It's about a 15x from where we are today, and Bitcoin's a 24x. So the more you go out on the risk curve, using things like the Sharpe ratio, the riskier it is. So there could be a new player into Chainlink, and I always think about it this way: would you rather own the battery maker for Tesla, or would you rather own Tesla? So think about that. I think it's better to have more Ethereum. I would be, but based on my numbers, I think the upside could be higher in Chainlink. So it's a tricky one, but it's not the approach I'm taking. I am way, way bigger in ETH than I am in the Oracle Chainlink. So great question, Scott B. And let's see. Your thoughts on a potential bear market in the future, and what else would you unload, if any, from Jeff S. This is another interesting one. And before, well, come back to you, Dave, in a minute with that good question. So where is all this going to go? I'm not sure, but if there are people talking about, DeFi really becoming a thing and the banks imploding and people looking for alternatives to banking and lending and borrowing and all that type of stuff, that's why I'm so bullish on the DeFi space. I think it could go very far. Now, next year, if things like all the indicators I look at, like TLVs, total value locked, it's TVLs, total value locked, and all that other stuff start exploding, I will be holding on to my DeFi players. And I believe as well the crypto winter may not be as bad as in previous years. So I'm not sure, but I'll be monitoring very carefully. Also, if things get really, really toppy and really explode, I'll take money off the table and always cover my original investment. And C as well, run expected value simulations if there's better places to place money. Sometimes things run fast, sometimes other things run slow, sometimes protocols just shrivel up and die. We'll see. But I do expect a lot of change and a lot of surprise over the next 12 months. And that's why I always stress to everybody, always wear your dancing shoes, because you got to be able to get in and out of things very quickly. Anything can implode overnight. So you need to be able to be flexible and move. So, quick piece on contributions and donations this week. And this was proposed by the team. Everybody was asking us to invest in Sea Shepherd. Obviously, many of you may know about them. They defend marine life, they save whales, etc. They have a big focus on protecting our oceans from exploitation and environmental destruction. And basically, the planet is dead without healthy oceans, and many people don't actually realize that. Hopefully, they do now because of organizations like the Sea Shepherd. I used to watch their TV show about 10, 15 years ago, back in the day. Current initiatives that we really like is saving the vaquita porpoise, protecting sea turtles, whale research. They tried very hard to prevent Japanese whalers, and I think they're still trying to do that as well as they can. Protecting wild salmon, IUU fishing, ocean cleanup, hurricane relief, and so much more. And the coolest thing about this organization is they are there to protect the animals until they can protect themselves. So I like this little image of dolphins one day having 50 cows mounted to protect themselves, but we're not quite there yet. So that's where we are right now. So I'm going to open up to Q&A. Big thank you to everybody on Patreon for these questions. So I'm going to actually pop up the Q&A right now and pop this down. Hold on a second. Pop out chat. Hope everybody's having a good Sunday. And I realized there was some sports events happening all over the world. Wimbledon and some soccer matches in Europe, Italy and England. So all the English out there and the Italians, I hope your teams did well. Cool. Let me jump in. Brian Hurley, thank you so much. Butler McDade, keep rocking the free world. Yeah, we'll try. Let me switch camera here. Let me see. Thoughts on BlockFi credit card? Would you get it? Chris R. Honestly, I think there are probably safer places to go. I don't like the way BlockFi changed the game and changed rates on investments. So definitely, I'm not sure I would trust their credit card. I would go for the Gemini one. It's probably more trusted than some of the other options that are coming out. Just my 2 cents. The stuff that BlockFi did over the last couple of months with their rates, you never know what they're going to do with the credit card. Dave Pulitzer, everybody's talking about Luna. What's the deal? I don't know. I do hear a lot of shilling. My take on cryptos is if they're shilled heavily, it's a red flag. So we'll see. But Luna is one of the next 10 we're going to look at. We try to tackle one a week if we can. So stay tuned for that. Thank you, Dave, for the question. T. Davis, oh, thank you. Keep it up. Appreciate it. And all these donations go towards our Sea Shepherds. Brian Hurley, next interview with Corda Dev Quincy Jones. Love to see you reanalyze XRP and its future use cases. I know you're leery. Seems crazy, unreal use case. Interesting. I don't have anything against XRP. Just I don't like their history, the background, the lawsuits, and the $5.1 billion, 5.1 billion tokens in escrow. Tokenomics is something we all need to focus really well on. So we will take another quick look at XRP and see where it goes, but it just looks very risky to me. Annika H, live from Sweden. It's cool. Sorry to keep you guys late. I think, was Denmark playing soccer together or something? My son lives in Denmark. I don't know if that's right. MetaHero is scanning Binance management in Dubai. I don't know what exactly that means, Stefan, but thank you. And let's actually just check into the markets. I want to see what was happening, because right before I jumped in, Bitcoin blasted up from 33.8 above that resistance line. It was funny because I made a little chart earlier today. I could try to show you, but I don't want to dislodge my camera. But basically what I was trying to draw a picture of this narrowing wedge, and I said 85% sure that Bitcoin's going to explode upwards. 15% maybe downwards, but as it turns out, it's made a little pump, a nice little pump and move upwards. And let's look at exactly where we are now. 34.5, which is nice. And looking at some of the other cryptos today, because it's kind of sad that the stock market is closed, but it's also very refreshing because you don't have to work so hard 24 hours a day. Aave is making a nice big move up as well. ICP broke above 40. Not that anybody should buy ICP. I think the long-term future for that is terrible. And Ethereum needs to get above 2200. So let's see. Artemis the dog. Thanks, James, for the animals. Also, what percentage would you hold on lending platforms like Celsius? Me personally, you only get bang for your buck if you have 1 Bitcoin. If you have more than that, you don't get much return. It's like it goes from whatever 6.5% down to 3% or 3.5%. So for me, because of risk, I much prefer controlling my own destiny, and I don't need the income. But for most people, I recommend no more than 10 to 30%. If you really need the money to live. I know there are probably people out there that are on the cusp between being free and maybe doing something like consulting on the side or odd jobs and not having to work for a paycheck. I'm a very big believer that the only thing we are given in life is our time. So if you can find a way to buy that back and make good use of it and make the world a better place, that's what you should do. So if you can make the world a better place and you need to lend 50% of your crypto, then maybe I would trust Celsius. But there's always that little tiny risk that something could happen. But I would not be concerned with Celsius as well. Just the more you put down, the riskier it is. And also think about dispersing your assets too. Billy Joe Van Cleef, thank you so much. Itachi Uchiha, I hope I got that right. Would you be able to review an Icon ICX? They're huge in Korea and no one seems to be talking about them. Yeah, I've heard a lot of requests about that one actually in Korea, but the problem is I used to know the Korean market when I used to travel there a lot in the past, but I am out of my depth. I'm not familiar with there's some cool payment system that you guys use as well that's on a blockchain. But we can jot it down and we can take a quick look. So Itachi, thank you so much for that as well. Thoughts on Engine? Seems like the ideal NF play. DS, yes. Engine is the only NFT play I have other than, you could say, dotted line to Ethereum. And I got into a little position a long time ago and I hold it. And it's actually been very strong during this market downturn. And the recent work that they've done with their new blockchain is quite incredible. So very, very bullish on Engine. And I think everybody should have a little piece of that. That's one of the few that is kind of sort of DeFi, but not really DeFi, NFT space. But I like it because I also like art. So Gabe Ferreira, been following a special project called Orbit Freeway. Would love your analysis. Transparent team, strong community, get initial product mission. We'll take a look as well, but we tend to only focus on the big established players, big market caps, big customers, big use cases, big backers, strong financials, good tokenomics. Gabe, we will take a look. It's pretty easy right now. We have a system down where we can fathom if something is good or bad in a lot less time than it used to take. Thoughts on the market next week? Jack versus Elon interview, Bitcoin unlock, grayscale, weakness over. Yeah, JRAM, great question. And I think about these things all the time. I sleep thinking about all of these things. So you and I are wired the same way. First of all, the grayscale unlock, I'm not too concerned. Second of all, Elon, Tesla earnings and them taking a hit for any losses they may have made on Bitcoin. I think once Bitcoin is above 34.8, which we're very close to now, they will not have to do a write down. Unless, of course, I don't know their exact acquisition price. Maybe they had to do a small write down. But anyway, $50 million is what I estimated to be. And it's not. It's nothing. It's a drop in the bucket for Tesla. Again, I'm hugely bullish on Tesla. Robo-taxis. Just a little note as well on Tesla. I was talking to the team there yesterday and drilling them for some insider information. And I know some people at Tesla and stuff. When Tesla lease a car now, you can't buy out your lease anymore because Tesla want all their cars back after the leases for their robo-taxi fleet. So just think about that. If that's not a bullish indicator, I don't know what is. So the Jack Elon interview, I think, will go well. I think Elon Musk has learned his lesson and he's made himself very unpopular in the Twitter sphere. And I think he's going to be polite. I think he's going to come around. I think Jack is going to be extremely well prepared and get him over that 50% cusp. And hopefully Bitcoin will start taking, Tesla will start taking Bitcoin again as payment for their vehicles. Not that I would do. What I would do is I'd borrow money at 2.5% and buy the car with that money and pay it back over 72 months. And instead have my money invested. But that's just me, not investment advice. And the weakness over, I'm looking at the huge amount of money. I mean, we have 7 new whales last week. That means 7 new organizations came in and bought more than 1,000 Bitcoin. We have their hedge funds jumping into MicroStrategy. I mean, Paraguay could happen this week. There's rumors about Apple really ramping up their efforts. You got that guy, the former founder, Wozniak, saying great things about Bitcoin. I mean, it's nothing but goodness. The FUD is over. The China miner case is over. The environmental story FUD is over. So we'll see. Coin Collector 82, Elrond. Everybody's asking about Elrond. We've had a look. We've done our initial stab, but we will be studying Elrond probably in the next 10 days or so. That is up there on the list. Thank you for us as well. Artemis the Dog. Thank you, James. Thank you too. So I don't want to keep anybody too late. Any other cool questions? Oh, there we are. So Rohail Sheikh. So borrowing money at 2.5% to invest over 5 years is a decent idea. Yeah, well, think of it this way. If I'm buying a $100,000 car today, okay, I have a choice. I can put down the minimum, which I think is 5 or 10%. I put down $5,000, $10,000. I borrow $90,000 on an asset that's wasting, and I can pay it off slowly at 2.5% per year. I can make 2,000%, 1,000% in the stock market in 3 or 4 months. Why would I use up all my cash when I can get a much better return outside? Or we all know Bitcoin will not be flat. Even if Bitcoin were not to go anywhere over the next 5 years, it's still guaranteed to go up more than 15% per year. So if I'm borrowing at 2.5% and I put the money into Bitcoin, that's going to go up at 15% because the currency is going to debase at 15%. I'm making 12.5%. It's a no-brainer. So Joel Johnson, thoughts on Flexa AMP? Had a lot of questions regarding AMP, and that's also one of the ones in our list. What we will do, actually, definitely within Patreon, we'll update. So what we do is we do what the community wants, and we do polls as to what to review next. We'll take all this good stuff in and have the people vote. That's how things like the Graph came on my radar, and VeChain and all those other names, is because people wanted us to analyze them. So, and again, the way we analyze crypto is completely objective. We're not owned or bought by anybody. We've had a lot of calls from companies saying, oh, we want you to be on our board and want you to be an advisor for our coin and stuff like that. It's like, no, never. Even if Bitcoin had a board and said, would you like to be on our board? I'd say no. It's very, very important for us to be completely objective. And we just give our own thoughts. So George Wilson, thoughts on ICP? ICP, I've said this before, it is a great concept, but it's 10 years ahead of its time. And what the organizers did with that whole thing, it was kind of criminal. You know, floating it up to $6.50 and running all the way down to $40. I think it's shocking. And let that be a lesson to everybody. If you see an ICO coming out of nowhere and becoming a top 10 crypto overnight, short it. So that's my lesson learned for you all. And I feel sorry for anybody that is still holding, there's an old Swiss-German expression, it's called Heptasorg, which means you embrace, you squeeze the worry, but sometimes you just got to cut ties and move on. Let me see. Phil H. up there in Canada. And we'll check out, by the way, BidMoon, XMR, we will check out as well in our list. Thoughts, your targets, and get in, dip over. Forget your targets and get in, dip over. Yeah, I think it's been a long market. You got a lot of people out there. Somebody was talking to me about a guy called Benjamin Cohen saying he expects a flat market for a long time. I just look at the numbers and I look at the money, and that's always been my thesis. I've never seen anything like the type of money flowing into Bitcoin right now in the crypto space. Just look at the options market. Look at the people placing the bets out into the future. Huge strikes, way, way, way out of the money, and they're buying these things up like crazy. Kevin Shamey, news about Paraguay and adoption of Bitcoin as legal tender across the world, please. Yeah, Paraguay, I think a new release is coming out next week or the week after. And it sounds like everything I see, everything I read, all signs are saying they're going to follow the El Salvador way. And I think the country is a little bit bigger than El Salvador, a million more people, but I think it'll be great. Let me see. Stay T. Hey boss, thought about Yield app. I don't know if that is a token or something else, but if you want Yield, there's a couple of places to go, but don't know. And Shoaib Kamal, thoughts on Coinbase stock. I own some options on Coinbase. I think it is a place that should move pretty soon. I expect Coinbase to be up to $300 once Bitcoin rebounds. But remember, it has to be a function of Bitcoin before it'll really move. So that's my take on that. Not investment advice, of course. Galaxy. Yeah, I've been telling people. In fact, I answered a question with somebody. That was from Philip Good. Great question. They're saying, should I buy MicroStrategy or HUD 8, etc.? I said, Galaxy is terribly undervalued right now, whereas HUD 8 is run too far too fast. So everybody needs a piece of Galaxy if they don't have it. And Galaxy at around $16 is a good deal. So with that, I'm going to let you guys get back to your Sunday. Thank you all so much for the contributions. As I mentioned, everything here, all these super chats go towards the animals. And I love doing this live. It's much more casual and calm. And just everybody be careful of scammers. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. Do not give anybody your money. If anybody has a probing question for you, start saying, oh, do you have crypto? Or how do you store your crypto? Or what exchange are you on? Pfft, drop the phone. Block them if they're chatting with you. I will also beware of social media. That's how they're attacking people. They're direct messaging people through things like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all that type of stuff. There are armies of scammers everywhere. Don't ever answer anything, especially not me. I don't have the time to even write an email to anybody. I just take care of people within Patreon. Okay, thanks everybody. Big thank you to as well, Mike Z. Hope you enjoyed the fights last night, and I hope your brother's okay. And everybody, be careful. Happy Sunday. Talk to you tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow we're doing AVAX. Crypto. Bye.